This is Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Back again for another edition of Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Drew.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm JD.
Thank you for all your information and questions and everything you're sending us through our social media. I'm at Mr. Drew Scott. JD's at Mr. JD Scott. And Jonathan is Mr. Silver Scott. We take the content that you send to us, what you want to hear us talk about, and we talk about it. And we have a great show lined up today. We're talking about money. How much money do you spend on shoes in a year? I personally spend a lot. And you'd be surprised. The average price women spend might scare you.
And we'll be talking Halloween. It's coming up this Thursday night. And we're going viral with a video that was posted online a few weeks ago. And people may be rethinking how they're going to quit their job.
But first, let's talk about foreign faux pas that you might not know. A little while back, we talked to Emily Woolman. She's talking about traveling and things that you need to know, where you're going. You have to understand that a lot of other cultures, a lot of other countries, they have some practices that you or I maybe just don't get. And some simple gestures that you may make could be quite offensive. And so I think here in Canada, probably everybody's pretty easygoing. And
I don't think Canadians can offend anybody with anything we do.
And rightfully so, I don't think that we are offended. Actually,
that's not true. I can say that some foreign friends get not offended, but they think it's ridiculous how much Canadians wear the flag on their stuff.
They find the Canadian flag offensive?
No, the fact that they are throwing it in your face all the time.
Right.
Well, this is one that I found is funny. Is I have talked to some people who find that it is offensive how friendly Canadians are. That just seems odd to me. Yeah.
Sorry, I offend you.
Yeah, well,
What's that all about?
Canadians do say sorry a lot. I've noticed that. But I would rather be the person that apologizes maybe a little too much than the person that doesn't apologize at all.
This is true.
But that's what I want to find out from you guys. In your travel, have you ever come across something that is so strange, a foreign faux pas, that it just baffled you? I want you to message that to us on social media. Send it out to us. But I have a couple here that are very straightforward. But if you're in Russia, do not ever say no to vodka. If somebody offers you vodka and you say no, that's the equivalent here of refusing to shake someone's hand.
But what if you don't drink? I mean, that's it.
Don't
that
go to
bothers
Russia.
me.
Yeah,
I shouldn't go to Russia.
I do drink, and I will say yes.
Then you will get along with the Russians. That is okay. But that makes a good point. What if you don't drink alcohol? So are there people in Russia who don't drink?
Yeah. So then what do you do?
Yeah,
in those
it's
households?
easy. You do here. You just over the shoulder it. You know?
Just pretend.
Russia has a lot of issues, especially with their views on gay marriage and whatnot as well. I mean, they have some issues they got to work out.
That's their foreign faux pas right now is if you're gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't drink or you're gay, apparently Russia maybe is not the best vacation spot right now. If you go to Singapore and you bring gum, they'll fine you $5,500.
So are you saying then if you fly and you're connecting through Singapore, you go through customs and even if you're just connecting, you forget you have a pack of gum in your bag, they'll fine you?
I am assuming that they understand in some scenarios that, people traveling, passing through, you may not realize, but I think that they have that option that if they do catch you or you are causing a problem, they have that ability to fine you. I have friends that did say that they had their gum taken away at the airport and they did not receive a fine.
I believe it does specify that it's important whether it's sugar-free or not.
Yeah. Does it have aspartame in it?
But you know what? I find it very funny if that's something for some Asian cities, but then you see some Asian cultures, they spit all the time. They'll spit in the street, no problem. But if you're not allowed to have gum, one of the reasons I heard is that in Singapore, it's so disgusting how much gum and everything is all over the place that's one of the reasons they have that law.
No.
Well, that is the reason.
Well,
waste.
it's incredibly clean in Singapore. I thought that was the whole point behind
Now, or how long has it been?
No, it's been like that for a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah, they've been very, very strict. But as far as the spitting goes, I agree. I've seen people a lot that they'll just spit all the time. You look somewhere like Calgary. Calgary actually passed a bylaw. It is illegal to spit. So if you do get caught spitting by a cop, they will fine you. So
That's good. I like that. I think it's disgusting. People spitting or
incredibly. Let's go through some of the other ones here. Something that's like an international sign of goodwill. Peace. The peace symbol. If you do a reversed peace symbol in the UK, it's basically you're telling someone to F off.
Well, it is completely rude in India to shake someone with your left hand because your left hand is for wiping your bum. Your right hand is for shaking hands.
I feel like we just should stop wiping our bums with our hands.
Well, we were just in India, and But who shakes with their left hand? I don't think I've ever.
You know what?
I've
I do
had
that
people do
sometimes.
that.
If I walk up to two people at one time, whoosh, I throw both hands out there, and I'm very efficient.
And did they like slink back in India?
Yeah, but I don't have a bit of TP stuck between my nails.
You also have a tendency, Drew, to walk up to people and publicly kiss them. In Saudi Arabia, that would get you 120 lashes.
But it was worth it for the passion.
What form of punishment is the lash? Like, I don't see how. Like, can you imagine in North America somebody saying, "Oh, you jaywalked. That's 50 lashes."
Well, if you remember back a little while ago, it was in Singapore again that it was a Canadian boy, I believe, who he spray painted on a wall there, and he got caned, which is like a lashing.
Okay, here's something funny though. In China, it's your hair is thinning on top. If you have a colleague that says that to you, this is just funny to me. If a colleague says your hair is thinning on top, that's a compliment. It means you have a friendship with this person. It's a sign of friendship.
See, I feel like I would no longer be friends with that person.
Hello, my friend. Your hair is thinning on top.
Now, this is one that I think is funny.
You're ugly.
Here's a foreign faux pas. Don't try and tour any person's home. That they value their privacy in Germany. If you go into someone's house and wander around, open doors, they'll find that disrespectful.
All right. In what realm of our world is that acceptable? Like in any country, do you just wander into people's homes and start touring around?
I do it.
Well,
you're a realtor.
On the East Coast here, everybody is so friendly. They leave their doors open. You just wander in and have dinner. But I don't know. I think the biggest one is probably don't try and speak the other language if you're traveling in another country. Don't speak the language if you don't know it. It's kind of cute if you try and say one or two words, but don't feel like you have to speak the language. You could offend somebody.
Domo origatos.
Who knows? Anyway, back after the break, we're talking money, and you will not believe what body part women spend over $54,000 in their lifetime on. Insane. We're going to find out from you what body part you spend the most money on. Hit us up on social media. I'm at Mr. Silver Scott. We have at Mr. JD Scott and at Mr. Drew Scott, or at thescottbrothers.com. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
It's Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Drew.
This is Jonathan.
And this is JD.
We're talking about money. It makes the world go around. How much money do you spend on shoes in your lifetime or in a year?
It is the one body part that women spend over $54,000 on in their lifetime. That blows my mind. I guess basically the number is $900 a year, $75 a month. That's what women spend.
Don't you buy gold shoes?
I actually platinum shoes.
Oh,
well, that would be a lot more expensive than $900 a year. I have to be honest, this is maybe a stat about Drew, me, because I love shoes. I mean, honestly, $900 a year does not sound like a lot to me. That says 13 pairs of shoes in a year. That's what women typically buy.
Yeah, your shoes? You're $900 on one pair of shoes.
That's right. And how did that turn out for you?
Yeah. So Drew has quite the shoe collection, and yes, I mean, you spend anywhere from a few $100s to $1,000 on a pair of shoes. He had a very expensive pair of shoes. The very first time he wore them out, he caught the heel on a curb, and the heel broke off. And all of a sudden, he's sort of limping down the road. I'm like, what happened? His heel on this $1,000 pair of shoes had popped off.
I didn't even realize the heel was gone. At first, I was wondering what the heck's going on. I was confused, and then I realized this expensive heel popped off. Well, believe it or not, they actually covered that, and they put the heel back on.
So when that happens, when it's a $900 pair of shoes, do you frantically go and try and find your heel?
I did. I went looking for my heel.
I could have made you one. I could have just cut one on the table saw.
It was the terrible cold winters of Toronto that made that happen. No, but I mean, I honestly, I love shoes, and if you find someone who makes the kind of shoes that you like, for example, in Toronto, Treccani is who I use, and they've actually sponsored our shows before for wardrobe. But it's an Italian shoemaker, and their quality is just phenomenal. So
well, I think that's maybe the problem is, a lot of women buy shoes, and a $75 pair of shoes, maybe not the best quality. Would you be better off maybe getting fewer shoes, but better quality shoes because they'll last longer?
Well, this is something I used to do when I was younger. So, if you work for a restaurant, I was a busboy when I was a kid, and you had to have a certain type of black shoes as a part of your wardrobe at work. And I didn't want to go and spend on expensive shoes, so I found these, like a Payless kind of a place, these shoes that were like $10, but they would fall apart in like a month. But I went and bought like 4 pairs of them, so that I could line them up. And then what I would do is when it fell apart, then I would just return them and get a new pair. And literally I would go through 13 pairs of shoes in a year because I would use them so much.
I thought you were going to say that you just found a really cheap pair of white shoes and you spray painted them black.
I would have probably done that too.
I think that there is such a thing as too many shoes, though. You know, if you're spending so much per month on shoes, you're going to get to a point where your closet is overflowing, and that's not a good thing. I think you should have a limit. Maybe when you're buying another pair, you have to get rid of a pair.
Oh, come on, JD. Do you think before you speak? That's ridiculous.
I call me pragmatic, but
I was looking at a stat. It says for UK women, the average UK woman snags 3 pairs of flats, 3 pairs of heels, 2 pairs of boots, 2 pairs of sandals, 1 pair of pumps, 1 pair of flip-flops, and a pair of sneakers every single year.
It's mandatory. Is the law there?
That is. Yeah. They have some crazy laws in the UK.
I have a shoe
According
question.
to the
JD,
Queen.
skill testing question. What's a pump?
A pump is
Athletic
it's
shoe?
no, it's a dress. It's a women's dress shoe with a heel on it.
All right, it goes to show Jonathan is not the one that has a girlfriend. He doesn't know. He said that a pump was an athletic shoe for a lady. But
Well,
JD's
doesn't it make
right.
sense? Like you pump iron, you're pumping, workout. Why is it?
Wow.
Why is it called a pump if it's got a heel on it?
What's a bob? You know what a bob is?
A haircut.
Oh, okay, you got it.
All right. Well, how about other clothes, though? I mean, Jonathan makes fun of me because I happen to have a pretty big walk-in closet. Even when we film on the road, whatever place I usually get an extra bedroom because I convert it into a closet. I have a lot of clothes aside from the shoes. But you guys, would you spend a couple of grand a year on new outfits, new clothes, or do you like to reuse what you have for 10 years?
I am kind of in that category. I'm so specific about the stuff that I like that I usually don't see a lot of things that I think, oh, I got to have that. So I do reuse year to year.
Like your Black Magic T-shirt that you've had for 30 years?
Which I had in multiple different colors, so I could change it up,
It didn't just turn multiple colors over the years.
It did that too. Yeah.
I think, I'm the same. Like, I don't go out and buy a lot of stuff. However, I do have certain items that I find I tend to wear more often than not. They're just my comfortable clothes. But I'm also a very tall guy. I'm almost 6'5", so it's very hard, especially for long sleeve shirts and things like that, to get anything that fits. Everything I buy has to be tailored. So by the time I've purchased an item, I've tailored it. I feel like I've invested in this thing. I want to make sure I get some use out of it.
Well, women spend a lot of money on all these clothes and shoes, but what do you think guys are spending the money on that women think are foolish?
I don't know. I think guys are spending money on their girlfriends too. My ex used to.
So you're saying that's foolish?
No, it's what she
Again,
wants.
why
I
you
guess.
single?
I bought a lot of bags for her. That was her thing. And these bags, I mean, to get to that $900 a year mark, I only had to buy 2, maybe 3 bags.
Well, I know because you would have me go and pick those up.
Here's something that guys would spend money on that maybe girls wouldn't necessarily or as much is things like video games. Like a guy will go and spend a couple $100s on 2 new games or a new game system for $500. Whereas that is their version of maybe shoes or...
And women, generally, the ones I've spoken to, think that is ridiculous, that guys will spend that money on gaming. But guys, of course, think it's ridiculous that women will spend that much money on shoes or bags or anything for that matter. Why not take that money and invest it?
Well, yeah, invest it. I just find, that would be me. I was saying the same thing about an engagement ring. I want to spend that money on something that I can actually...
That's a trick question. You're a boring individual. Of course, you need to have some personality. That's what the whole purpose of buying shoes is. So no,
he set you up.
That money is not to be invested. That is to express your personality. That's the whole point of buying shoes.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir here. I totally heard your question wrong. I thought you were just justifying investment. But I like shopping. Well, I don't like shopping itself, but I like nice things. I just find that, where guys might go and spend their money on gaming or on beer or something that you can't keep, I like that you can wear these outfits and it becomes a part of you.
The ones that I think are more controversial really are things like smoking. Spending too much money smoking, that's money that you could put toward investing or something else.
Exactly. That is a total waste. But the one thing I will say, even though I have a lot of shoes, a lot of women have a lot of shoes, it doesn't define me. It's just, it shows a bit of my style. But we want to know what you guys think. Is it ridiculous the amount of money that I or women spend on shoes? Let us know through our social media. I'm at Mr. Drew Scott. We have at Mr. JD Scott and at Mr. Silver Scott. When we come back, we'll get to a woman who quit her job with style. That and more on Off Topic with the Scott Brothers, continuing on the Corus Radio Network.
This is Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Yes, it's Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. It sounds repetitive when I say it, and I don't have quite as cool a voice as Radio Guy, but that's cool. We'll continue. We're going to talk about a woman who quit her job via a YouTube video, and this video got massive hits, millions of hits. I want to know your thoughts and if you guys have ever gone out with a bang. Drew?
Well, I actually did. When I was a kid, I was a server. So I was 18. I was a server at a restaurant.
Worst server ever.
I was not great.
Who was demoted from server?
No, they offered me a different position
As a busser
that would
from a
not have
server.
worked. So I
That's a
decided to quit.
demotion.
But no, it wasn't that one. It was a different restaurant that I was at, and they actually hired me. And this restaurant puts you through. You have to go through every position in the restaurant for a few days to a couple of weeks to kind of get the feel of everyone's position before you land in yours as a server. Well, they had put me through the dishwasher and the food runner and the host, and then they had me at the busser, and they left me there for like a month, and I finally said to them, or 2 months, and I said to them, when am I going to be upgraded? And the guy finally said, honestly, I just was lacking bussers, and I told you got the job as a server, but I just need you as a busser. But today you get to train these 2 new bussers. Well, on that day, I said to him, I was on the phone, I said, you are an beep. And I quit. He said, you can't do that. I said, you can't hire me as a one position and give me another.
So did you dance in a video while quitting in front of him or live?
I threatened to kick his butt.
This is what this woman did. So it was apparently an animation firm that she worked for, a Taiwanese company, and she did this video dancing with Kanye West in the background.
Conway Twitty? That's not as good.
Conway Twitty was playing. No, so it was Kanye West, his video Gone in the background. And at the bottom she wrote, I've put my entire life into this job, but my boss only cares about quantity, how fast I write, how many views we get. I want to talk more about content, and I hope you'll learn from this and improve. Well, it worked. She left, and the company did see it. However, apparently the company then put out a rebuttal video where they were looking for new employees and basically making fun of her.
In that video, did they tell her that she's got a crazy face?
Yeah. So sometimes a little childish back and forth. Sounds like something Kanye West would do.
The rebuttal video only got, just over 100,000, but I mean, her video is way over 10 million. I mean, it's... that goes to show you she did something right talking about quality.
Well, I don't know if she did something right, because that seems it's a little unprofessional. What I think of is, and you guys used to make fun of me for this. You used to say, "Oh, don't want to burn any bridges."
Yes, that was our famous saying.
Yeah, it's because I always wanted to be very cautious that no matter what I was doing, I was setting myself up to succeed in another company. And you never know who this person might know, who knows somebody else, and if you tick this person off, that other company may not hire you.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, if someone is being a jerk and they're doing something wrong, like say, for example, the boss, he was completely in the wrong, or they're making you do stuff at the job that wasn't a part of your description, it's not burning bridges, just saying, this is wrong what you're doing, I'm out of here, and you go to a new job.
Yeah, but do you need to do that dancing in a video?
Yeah, because what you're doing there is you're taking...
You're mocking it.
Your personal situation and flaunting it to the public, which I think is unprofessional. It's like somebody, in a restaurant setting, for example, the manager coming over and tearing a strip off of the server in front of the customers. You don't do that. It's not professional. It should be done behind closed doors. If you remember, Drew, when I was working as a dishwasher years and years ago...
2 weeks ago.
You were visiting me, and I wanted to drive you to the airport in Calgary and drop you off so you could fly back to BC. My boss had said to me, if you don't show up for work tonight, you're fired. And I said to him, well, I already have my shift covered, and I want to see my brother off because I haven't seen him in months. And he said to me, no, he's like, if you don't show up, you are fired. And he yelled, and he was a kind of a fiery kind of guy. So I quit that job right there. I said, that's it, I'm leaving. And I left. The next day, the restaurant burned down.
Oh, how convenient.
And so I was like, now, fortunately, I didn't make a big scene, but if I had made a big scene, then all of a sudden, that would be dangerous. Turns out it was a grease fire from the chef.
Because the restaurant, he never cleaned the frigging kitchen. That was a dirty thing.
Yeah. But that's exactly it. I think if you all of a sudden have this personality out there where you're ranting and raving and freaking out, I think that you're setting yourself up for other issues. You are burning bridges. I was talking to a guy who said he was running to an interview. It was a very important interview. He was trying to get there. He was cutting people off in traffic and everything, and he got into an arguing match with this person on the road. When he got into his meeting, it turned out that the boss that was interviewing him was the guy that he cut off in traffic and was flipping the bird to, and obviously he didn't get the job.
Well, actually, I've had that situation where we were hiring in the past, and there was somebody, it was main floor of the building, into the elevator, complete jerk, and you could see him giving attitude to people. steps in the elevator, and then he comes up, and then he comes in to do an interview, and obviously that showed me his personality, so he didn't get the job.
That's kind of a little related to the 6 degrees of separation bit. You know, you don't know who that person is and who they know and who they know. So it can come back on you. It's karma.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you have no idea if they know Kevin Bacon.
Everyone knows Kevin Bacon.
It's only 6 degrees away.
But it is definitely very immature, I think, to do a video like what she did. I know she was trying to make a point, and maybe that's great. But personally, I would have discussed it with the employer first, and then if it didn't happen there, then I would just move on.
She was obviously doing it as a spectacle and as a sort of a viral stunt. I mean, this is a viral news organization, a video news organization.
So it's ironic.
They knew what they were doing. I think she intended it to be a stunt, which is what it was. And so in the end, you know, I'm not putting a lot of weight into it. That's not how I would do it. However, I think for the fact that if you've watched the video, it's pretty funny. And knowing that the boss was looking at this and realizing that she was quitting, everyone can say at some point they have wanted to just walk in and just throw the towel in and say that they quit and storm out of a real bad boss.
Well, and a little bit of kudos to them because they responded in the exact same way with a dancing video.
And you know what? We're going to post the video on our social media. You can find that at Mr. Drew Scott, Mr. JD Scott, or Mr. Jonathan, or Mr. Silver Scott. Sorry, but I just think, you know, if one of you guys ever leave off topic, if you decide you want to leave, I'm going to look at the website. I'm going to look at your social media, and if I see a video,
it has
making
to be a
fun
video.
of me,
there's no other way. It
better have Conway Twitty in it.
Oh, I already posted it. It's up. I'm
Darn
done.
it. It's going to be off topic with Scott Brother. Coming up, we're going to talk Halloween when we come back, so stay tuned. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Now, back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
It's Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm JD.
I'm Drew.
I'm Jonathan.
Who doesn't love Halloween? I know that personally, this is my very favorite time of year. Always has been. How about you guys?
Anyone who does not like Halloween, I don't like you.
I just like being able to dress up the way I want to dress all year round.
So basically, when you see Jonathan dress and drag at Halloween, that means the rest of the year he just wished he was allowed to get away with that?
Oh, snap. Actually, I just like dressing up as like vampires.
It's always been a huge thing in our family, though. We've always gotten great costumes together. Our parents were fully behind it. We took seriously the whole act of trick-or-treating.
Well, Dad used to dress up as Frankenstein. He built these shoes, these big platform shoes, put the bolts in, the hair, did the whole thing. My mom would make our costumes for us. We would do up the house, too. So we were the house that people loved to come to.
Well, I remember when we were kids, my mom would say to us, I'll make the costume, come up with a creative idea, whatever you wanted. And we would have the most elaborate ideas for outfits. Do you remember my robot?
Shooting arms?
Shooting arms. Jonathan and I always wanted the same costumes, but we had this idea of a robot that would have a head that turns and shooting arms that would go out 30 feet. She made it.
She made it. She figured out a creative way to do it, but it was always funny because if you're asking a child, what do you want to be? Anything you want to be? Those are dangerous words because they will come up with the most bizarre things.
I think my favorite was I was this giant monster. It must have been about 9 feet tall, and he was carrying a sack, a little tiny sack, and my head was coming out of the sack.
Yeah.
Most uncomfortable costume in the world. I think I might have broken my neck doing that.
We still have a picture of that
amazing.
too. I think we'll post that picture online.
Yeah,
and some of the other ones. Drew last year dressed up as Honey Drew. So it was like a spoof of Honey Boo Boo.
Seeing me in
disturbing
pageant dress, and now the wig that I actually used when I bought the package, it was actually called Trailer Trash Blonde. But I mean, we had so many costumes. We did 80s fitness trainers. We actually, Jonathan and I went to this contest at a club. We won like $1,000 or whatever it was, and the contest that we won was least likely to get laid.
That's the outfits were tight and short. And Drew,
Mini Cowboys.
You looked like Tony Little. You had a ponytail and everything.
I looked hot. Mini Cowboys. That was one of the funniest ones that Jonathan and I did when we were in high school. And then Mini Kim Jong-il.
Well,
that's true.
That's just kind of regular size Kim Jong-il, actually.
Yeah, that could be true too.
Mini for you. What else did we do?
Cavemen.
Yes, we did do the cave. But why is it? So the way we did it when we were growing up, we would always be on a theme. So like Drew and I in school with one of our best friends, we would always be on a theme. We'd all be the same thing, but one of us would always be a woman version of it. And Drew, you quite often were the woman. So actually, one year we did dress as old ladies too, which was really quite funny. We need to post all these pictures for like a little social media Halloween blitz. But yeah, Drew, why is it that you would always dress up as the woman?
I think I just had the sexiest legs in a dress. I think that's all it was.
I'm confident 100% in saying that is not true.
No, we would always want to do themes. So actually, JD would do his own thing through the high school years, and then Jonathan and I and our best friend Pedro, we would just do something that the three of us could dress up in. So I would be the cave woman. Jonathan would be he has on stilts the 1 year.
I was a mini. I was the tall one. And
I was the mini, and then Pedro was the hairiest female, but it worked as a cave woman.
So do you guys understand and know like kind of the different backgrounds of Halloween, like where the traditions come from, the different things that different heritages do at that time of year?
I think it was when the werewolves and the vampires got together and wanted to celebrate their union.
Yeah.
Isn't that,
is that Twilight?
I have no idea what it is.
Well, I mean, every society seems to have a different,
take of where things started.
History for that. One of my favorite is from Mexico, where it's Dia de los Muertos. Day of the Dead, basically.
Yeah.
I did a trip down to Mexico, rural Mexico. Like you have to take planes, trains, and automobiles to get these places.
And donkeys.
And no one speaks English. But the celebration is absolutely out of this world. There's thousands upon thousands of candles and altars set up to celebrate your family that's passed away. And
when did the whole trick-or-treating part of it come, though? Like where you're actually going door-to-door asking for trick or treat? Because I know that for a fact, whenever I go, I'm a magician, whenever I would answer the door and I'd be like, trick it is, and I would do a trick, the kids hate you. Well, they're like, shut up, Grandpa, and give me the candy.
Again, I think that was from different societies. Like that, back in ancient Egyptian times, they did a very similar thing, but it was, they put out the treats to ward off evil spirits, and they would have their celebrations of their spirits.
I was actually reading that the earliest known print with the term trick or treat was actually from Canada. It was in Blackie, Alberta, and they have from 1927 where trick or treat was actually shown in print. But this is something that bothers me. It's trick or treat, but all those lazy kids that just want to get fat on candy, they don't want a trick. They just want the treat. And so when they come and say to me, trick or treat, I answer the door. I say, okay, I choose trick.
Well, you need to be careful of that because the one trick they do these days is toilet papering.
Yeah, egg your house with toilet paper.
Or egging. Yeah.
No, that's not why Drew would get toilet papered or egged. It's because Drew is the guy who hands out apples. Kids don't want, like, yes, I do enjoy an apple over candy. However, kids, no.
I don't do that. I'm a healthy guy, but I was the one, and I still am. I like to be the guy who gets the little chocolate bars and stuff. I don't do those little things that look like pylons, those awful little candies.
Those candy cones, candy corn.
They're terrible.
They're awful.
Those chocolate bars.
There are certain candies you don't want to give out things like Werther's Original. Kids just don't know it. They can't relate to it.
Or raisins.
Those kids can tell you when they remember their first Werther. It was from that idiot guy at the corner named Jonathan.
Do you remember there's always that one house that would hand out full chocolate bars and full cans of that was
the corner store. That was the corner store by where we grew up. I went there every year.
That's awesome.
Well, I said this before. We took it very seriously. We actually mapped out our routes and the best neighborhoods to go to for trick or treating.
You also dressed as a ghost for several years, so you could be on your knees and continue going door to door.
I did. I continued trick or treating until I was older. I was probably reaching 17, and they did stop giving me candy at one point.
That's why you just gotta be mini Kim Jong Il.
What's going to be the big Halloween costume this year?
Oh, for me?
No, just in general.
In
What do you think it's going to be? I think it's going to be Miley, and Robin Thicke.
So just naked on a wrecking ball? How are you going to go door to door with that?
People will try.
We'll find a way.
We have to take a short break, but when we return, we're going to be talking about the least honest cities in the world. I think you'll be surprised by who's on that list. And we'll delve into whether or not an orgasm can make you smarter. I would definitely like to think that is true.
2 + 2 is 5.
Anyhow, stay tuned for more Off Topic with Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
You're listening to Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
We are back. We're the Scott Brothers. This is Off Topic. As much as we'd love to think the best of everyone, there are really some untrustworthy places in this world. Some of the cities in this world, not exactly where you want to drop a wallet. And Reader's Digest, they conducted a global and social experiment to identify the most and least honest cities in the world. What they did is they actually distributed wallets in several different cities that had a cell phone number, a family photo, coupons, business card, and then the equivalent of about $50 cash. And they left them in places like a bus station or a park, and then they wanted to see if people would return them. What do you guys think? Did people return them?
I think a percentage of, well, I guess it depends where in the world they put it. Before we go any further, tell me, was Canada trustworthy?
Canada was definitely trustworthy.
Well, you got to give me more details than that. What are the details? Did they show up on the list at all?
Drew just made that up.
I made that up. They're not even on the list. You know what? I don't think they used, because they have on this list, they have New York is the only U.S., actually it's the only North American city in here, and they were actually ranked number 3 because 8 out of 12 wallets were returned in New York, as well as Budapest. I would actually point out that Helsinki, Finland, was the most trustworthy. 11 of the 12 wallets were returned.
I can understand that, because have you ever known a Finnish person that just didn't seem like the nicest person in the world?
No, they just sound so trustworthy.
Our uncle is Finnish, and he is probably the nicest person in the world.
I was actually surprised by number 2 on the most honest list. It's Mumbai, India. And the only reason I say that is because there is so much poverty in those Indian cities that I would think people would keep it.
Well, and that's a funny thing to bring up, because a lot of people would assume that if a homeless person found your wallet, that they would just keep it if there was money in there. But that's not necessarily the case. And that's one stipulation that this survey had, is that they weren't sure who these people were that were picking up the wallets, if they were homeless people or regular folks out there. But at the end of the day, they found that it didn't really matter from age, gender, their wealth. People, if they're a good Samaritan, whether they're homeless or not, they're a good Samaritan.
Well, there's the thing that was in the news a little bit ago where the fella had found, it was a homeless guy, and he'd found a couple $1,000s, or actually it was more than that.
It was about $40,000 in cash and stocks or
traveler's checks.
That's right, in Boston.
And he returned it, and the overwhelming support, people were so blown away that this fella who really was in need returned all of this money, that somebody set up a fund for him and raised over $150,000 to give to him. So it shows, it pays to be honest.
I actually posted about this on my my page on Facebook, and I think it is just a beautiful thing to see people doing good deeds and being rewarded when they're not asking for a reward.
On the other side, you got to watch. There are a lot of shady individuals out there. I read an article where there was apparently some young kids who they loved the idea of doing a time capsule. So they put in a bunch of memories, they put in some money, and of course they're little kids, so they didn't have much money. They put it in there, they hid it up in the mountains of their property, and believe it or not, this is our story.
I think I know where this is going.
JD hid in the bushes when Drew and I were burying this time capsule, and then so Drew and I, like a year later, we went back. We couldn't wait to see what we had put in the time capsule. We had forgotten. We wanted to see if it was there.
A year later.
It was only a year later. Like, we couldn't wait our whole lives. We opened the time capsule up. The money was all gone. There's something else in there that we had put in.
There was some sort of a food item, but there's just the crinkled wrapper was left there.
I was very excited to see what had occurred in that time capsule
in the 5 minutes.
An hour later.
Yeah.
Well, we know that JD would not be one of the most trustworthy individuals on that list, but number 4 for most trustworthy was Moscow in Russia and Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Number 5, Berlin, Germany. I'm a little surprised there. We also have number 6, we have London, England. Number 7, so this is getting more to the least trustworthy. We had Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and Zurich in Switzerland.
And there's actually a lot of countries, a lot of cities on these lists as well, in each category. Some of these I've actually traveled to. Number 8 on the list for most honest, which actually, when you get to the bottom of the list, that kind of makes it the least honest.
Well, so, it's kind of like
it's
tourist hotspots too as well. And I think this goes to show that a lot of people that will actually prey on tourists.
And that's a big thing. You know that when you're traveling through Europe. So a lot of these cities I was on the list. So, Budapest, for example, I was just there. It's right at the top. 8 out of 12 wallets returned. That's a good thing. Well, down on the bottom, Prague, only 3 out of 12 wallets. I was just there. Now, I thought, to me, Prague looked like a much cleaner city than a lot of the cities that I went to, and everyone seemed friendly and seemed straightforward.
It might be more to do with how the people seem, though, because looking at the list, number 4 had Amsterdam, and I can see that. Like, the people in the Netherlands are just so friendly and accommodating.
Yeah, I think it's hard, though, in any city, because especially when you travel, a lot of people go to these hotspot destinations. Like Madrid is number 9 on the list. Only 2 out of 12 wallets were returned there. But Madrid's a hotspot for tourists. And then you have one person that does something bad, steals a wallet or gives you a bad experience, and all of a sudden you think it's a terrible city.
So the least honest city in the world, according to the Reader's Digest list, is Lisbon, Portugal.
Oh, Lisbon. You disappointed us all.
How could you do it? How could you do it?
I'm sorry, but I haven't been to Lisbon, but now I don't know if I want to.
Well, I'm definitely not going to leave 12 wallets laying around.
I can tell you one thing. I'm not going to go to Lisbon when JD's going there, and I'm not going to put any time capsule down. That's one thing.
I like that, though. I like the social experiments. Dateline NBC did a whole series called What Would You Do? And they basically had scenarios like this, where would you be honest? Or, how would you react if you saw somebody in trouble? So I like it when people do this because it sort of calls everybody out on the fact that, hey, be honest, you never know when you're going to be on camera.
Exactly. And I mean, you shouldn't even have to think if it's you on camera. Hopefully
there are the right thing.
Good Samaritans out there. And actually, we want to hear from you. Tell us, do you think the Good Samaritan has died away? I don't think they have, but hit us up on our social media. I'm at Mr. Drew Scott. We have at Mr. Silver Scott and at Mr. JD Scott. Next, we're talking about a very serious topic. Sex. Here on Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Now, back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Let's talk about sex, baby. See how I did that?
I'm just glad you didn't say the next line to us.
I tied it in. It was so natural. This is Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. We are, of course, talking about sex. I don't know why it seems to come up a lot on this show, but inquiring minds want to know.
Does that mean we're deprived or people are asking about it?
I don't know. But I came across some information here that I think makes sense. As you guys know, I was recruited to Mensa at one point. I don't want to brag. I'm told I'm a fairly intelligent individual. And this article here says, an orgasm can make you smarter. That doesn't. Does that mean that I'm getting...
I've heard this before, and I actually am always attempting to get smarter and smarter.
So explain why. Why does it make you smarter?
I don't know. So you go through all the information. Of course, people, they do their surveys on everything, and anybody can say anything. But some of the things that they were saying is it's basically about when you orgasm, that rush. I try to do this in a very diplomatic way.
I'm amused by Jonathan trying to talk about the body because
Jonathan and I are actually giggling over here, and Drew's all matter of factly. And how does that affect the human?
I need to know this.
Stop being so serious. It's basically it's a workout for your brain. That's what they're saying. Is if you work out your body, you get fit. If you work out your brain, you get smarter.
Okay, this is what Jonathan's trying to say, getting to the point of it. So when you work out your muscles at the gym, you have blood flow to those muscles, and that's good for you. It's healthy. So when you orgasm, you have blood flow to the brain. So Jonathan's basically saying that blood flow is making you smarter. So my personal thought here is, why do you need sex for that? Why don't you just masturbate a lot? And man, I would be the most intellectual individual
we didn't say it had to
there.
be sex. We said it had to be an orgasm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I may be getting smarter right now.
And so technically, if the rush of blood, being that you're the fitness and health guy, if the rush of blood to the brain makes you smarter, then does the rush of blood to the penis make the penis smarter? I don't understand how that works.
Two heads are better than one.
Jonathan, I would just say yes, and you go with that.
So apparently, not only do orgasms make you smarter, but they also block out pain. So if you're in pain for some reason, have more sex.
I like how it
makes sense too.
It says down here with the French word for orgasm means little death.
So you die a little.
I don't like the sound of that.
You die a little inside every time you orgasm.
Every time.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense to me. I don't know. So then tell me this: if you not knowing if anybody here has any experience, I don't know if any of you have ever had sex before.
I'm a virgin until I get married.
However, if they say that it makes you smarter. And it's hard. They say it's harder for a woman to orgasm than it is for a guy. So is it harder for a woman to use orgasms to get smarter than it is for a guy?
Personally, I'm not going to comment on this saying that men are smarter than women because that's going to get me beaten up by my girlfriend.
It's easier for a woman to make herself smarter.
That's what I'm getting at. So basically, they say it's easier for a woman to make herself smarter. Okay?
That came out of Jonathan and JD's mouths. I'm just putting that out there to everybody. What do you guys think? I mean, we want to know what you guys think. Tell us. Do you think this is a valid point that if you orgasm more, you are smarter?
There's so much more that we could talk about here that may make us giddy.
We brought this up actually a little while back too. I think that when you are regularly having orgasms or sex or masturbation, that it kind of keeps you on track. You know, you have a little bit more of the adrenaline in your body.
Well, we talked in the past about another survey that had come out, but is there a correlation between sex and money? If you are having more sex, if you are having more energy, does that make you more successful in
more
what you
motivated?
do?
Or are you just more distracted from everything else you're trying to do? Because too much sex, if you're always looking for sex or always looking to orgasm, are you spending too much time out on dates or surfing porn sites instead of actually working?
That doesn't happen. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I saw a movie about Jonathan. It was called, what was it called? Don John?
Yeah, it's loosely based, but you never know. No, I think that there is something to be said for people who deny, of course, that any of this could possibly work. I think they're kidding themselves. I think I do generally feel better after sex.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that's the whole
I can
idea behind it.
Be man enough to admit that. So,
but I thought you said that you cry after.
Well,
no, that was your ex. Oh,
yeah, half the time I cry, half the time no.
It's tears of joy.
So I think, would you then say that maybe instead of putting chemicals into your body and taking painkillers, that this would be an organic painkiller?
Oh, I actually didn't agree with that. Totally.
Orgasmic painkiller?
This is an orgasmic painkiller. I'm going to bottle that and I'm going to start to sell
an
that.
antidepressant.
It could be an antidepressant. Again, maybe there's more research needed before we,
All right, I'm tasking you all this week. I want you to go out and do some research.
I am not shaking your hands.
I want you to make yourself smarter, all of you guys. Closing thoughts, anything you want to add?
More sex.
Drew?
Personally, I would just say that, I don't need to know the details or the outcome of this survey. You keep it to yourself.
That's what I think. Usually we put it out to you guys to tell us what you think. With this one, maybe not. Keep it to yourself. That's it for this week's edition of Off Topic. Join us next week for more Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network. And you know where to find us online, thescottbrothers.com, or through social media on Twitter and Facebook, at Mr. Silver Scott for me. We have at Mr. JD Scott and at Mr. Drew Scott. Thanks again for hanging out. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network. Want more of the Scotts? Check them out on TV. Catch the Property Brothers and Buying and Selling on W, a Corus Entertainment company.